And I'm back with another Dave's Movie Dailies, and I promised, and I'm doing it. The next movie I'm going to talk about, I saw at home. This movie wasn't released theatrically. I mean, I did see the Zack Snyder version of it in the theaters, which prompted me to get the comic before I watched that movie. So what I'm talking about is known as, sorry if I'm reading my notes here. This is a lot. I'm gonna cover a lot in this one. It's Watchmen Chapter 1. Now I haven't seen Chapter 2. I did realize that it already dropped. But I'm a little behind on that one. But this, it's on Max. I saw it on Max, which was formerly known as HBO Max, and it was released. It was released a little while ago, but I didn't realize that it had released while ago, so I decided to watch it. It was August 13th, 2024, and this is based on a DC property, which is DC Comics limited series, which was the writer was Alan Moore, who was very known for his comic book his comic book what's it called, IMDb, all the stuff that he's written in his comic. It's like historical stuff that to this day, he when he passes away, he's gonna go down as one of the greats, up there with Stan Lee. But yes, he Alan Moore, and then the artist was Dave Gibbons, and the colorist was John Higgins. So all three of them made this amazing set of comics that released. It was published monthly for the for DC Comics in 1986 and 1987. 1986, I was 5 years old, and in 1987, I was six. I just told you my age. So eventually all these single comics were put together, and a made a single volume edition in 1987, which I was six. This was an originated story pitched by Alan Moore. So Alan Moore had this whole idea to make this political, governmental, superhero esque comic book thing, and he pitched it to DC, and it was submitted, and it featured superheroes, like I just said, superhero characters, which the company acquired. So these superhero characters already existed before they were put into this series, and they existed in Charlton Comics, which is probably a comic book company that doesn't exist anymore, because the main ones, or the great ones, from what I know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other comic book companies out there other than these, but I know there's DC, Marvel, Image, Boom, um, Vertigo, and then there's a bunch of other ones, but like those are the ones that I kind of know a little. I mean, DC and Marvel are the main ones. So Moore used the story as a means of reflecting modern day problems. Okay, well, at the time it was in the 80s. Modern day problems such as anxieties, the breakdown and parody of the supposed perfect superhero. So when we look at superheroes like Batman, Superman, we know that they have problems. I mean, at first we used to think that they were perfect. Superman, come on, Batman. I think Spider Man was the one who had the most problems to date. But around that time that they wrote that, they wanted superheroes to be perfect beings, probably, practically. But what resonated with human beings, or with us, was the fact that these superheroes had regular problems just like you and me, and that's what made it what made us gravitate to these heroes, especially Spider-Man. A lot of kids or a lot of teenagers gravitate to Spider-Man because they've gone through the whole high school experience and all this stuff. A lot of people don't resonate with like a millionaire philanthropist like Iron Man, or a millionaire playboy like Batman, because not all of us are rich. I mean, I'm broke half of the time, so I don't know. But yeah, this set of comics kind of broke down I mean, Doctor Manhattan was one of the most powerful. He was like a godlike superhero, and he had his own anxieties and problems that he had to deal with. If you actually saw the Zack Snyder film, like, it depicts it just perfect. I mean, but I mean, the Zack Snyder film, I mean, to me, yeah, they changed a lot of stuff, but I love that it was kind of like a cut by cut comic book accurate film. I mean, they took the Black Freighter out of it, which was a side story that's inside of it, but I loved it. I loved it a lot. And now this Watchmen Chapter 1, it's the same thing. It shows you an animated version of the comic book, and you get to see this and enjoy it. And it's kind of like it's in such a beautiful animation. But yeah, moving on. So in an alternate history, an alternate our history, in which superheroes exist in the 1940s through the 1960s and the 1960s. Just existing changes the world so that the Vietnam War was won by the US and certain things were never exposed, kind of like all these Watergates and all these problems in the White House and the government that has shaped our history or our country. A lot of these things weren't exposed during this alternate history. The country nears World War III in 1985 with Russia. The heroes are being banned and they're being stopped and they're being sought after if they're kind of doing like vigilante stuff from their existence. So a lot of them have like become former superheroes or retired, or they work in the government. You know, the murder of one of their own, so the murder of one of their previous retired heroes, incites this investigation by one of the other heroes, and they all start to emerge out of retirement, and they start to seek justice and trying to understand what's happening in this ultimate culmination of the truth. You know, we finally get to see what happens, why this particular hero was murdered. There has been so many different spin-off comics. There was a prequel series. There was a Rorschach series. There's been so many different comics. I'm trying to keep up the whole... Because, I mean, if you look at Watchmen, it ends it just perfect, and you can't continue it. I mean, you try, but you can't continue. I mean, with the TV series that Max did, they kind of continued it somewhat, which was actually pretty good. But it ended with season 1. There was a prequel comic book series. Like I said, there was a standalone sequel to a Rorschach story. And in the film adaptations, like the Zack Snyder cut. I mean, the Zack Snyder version. And they tried at one point, you know, they tried to kind of integrate some of the characters with the known DCEU, which was in the past, because now James Gunn is controlling everything. I mean, who knows? He might bring them back. I don't know. It's up to him. It's a DC property, isn't it? He might try to integrate maybe a past type of character with another character. I don't know. But straight, one of my favorites. I mean, ever since I read the Alan Moore story comic book and I saw the movies, I was in love with Watchmen. I would love to see some of these characters continue. I mean, Dr. Manhattan, he left, but I can see him, you know, coming back because he's like a god. He exists through light, energy, and all this other stuff. So I can see him popping back up somewhere. Imagine him a villain. But from a scale of 1 to 10, straight up 10, bro. That movie, chapter 1 was amazing. Can't wait to see chapter 2. When I see chapter 2, I'll give you my criticism on it. But definitely a must watch for any comic book goers. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely watch it. It's on Max. So yeah, this has been Dave D. Saint. I will come back to you tomorrow with another 2 movies that I'm gonna talk about. Maybe a TV show. I don't know. But yeah, Dave D. Saint for Dave's Movie Dailies. Until next time.